Yo, what is up, egoist, and welcome back to the channel. As y'all can see, today's video is going to be the final part 3 of what if Isagi had a decoy weapon. If you guys have enjoyed this series up until now, make sure leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and you already know, put something down in the comments below about what you guys thought about the series and any other series that you guys would like me to do on this channel or like one of us to do on this channel. As you might have been able to tell, I don't know whether we've hit it at the point of me uploading this video. We're already at the moment at around 987, 990-ish subs. And as you can tell, we're very close to 1K. So if we aren't at 1K yet, by the time that you're watching this video, please make sure to go down and like and subscribe to the channel so you can get us to 1,000 subs. That would really be appreciated, and that would really be very helpful for the channel entirely. We have gotten very close to it, and I'd like to thank you and for the support. So also give us some 1K special ideas, but let's get into the video. So we get into the actual scenario for the last match. This is a match against Nagi's team, and this one goes quite a bit differently. This match is honestly over very quickly because, yes, they've been able to see Isagi play in some slight ways, but his movements are still unpredictable to say the least. Nagi's able to do a lot of work because he still is an amazing player, so they're still able to get a decent amount of points on them. But when it comes to Isagi being able to still act like a decoy the way that he does, and act exactly how he's always going to act, meaning on him just really truly acting like the perfect decoy. He's drawing all the attention to himself, and everyone already has their attention set to him because they never know whether he's going to shoot the ball himself or pass the ball and let somebody else shoot. He does that so perfectly and at such even pacing that you can't really ever calculate exactly which one he's about to do and which one he's going to do. So Nagi is getting quite annoyed about Isagi's playstyle, but he honestly also loves it. He finds Isagi's playstyle very interesting because he still plays the same way. It's still Isagi, he just uses different tactics, different methods. So Nagi is still very much interested in wanting to play with Isagi afterwards. He's still interested in his playstyle, and he's still very interested in exactly how he works. It's working out extremely well for him, and he just really wants to have some fun with it. That's exactly what Isagi is doing. He's just having some fun at this point. He doesn't even shoot in every situation that he knows he has a free ample opportunity to. Half the time he's just passing the ball and just sticking on Nagi like a glove. And just really having some fun going straight to him, not even having any kind of problems with everything else like that. I know that you guys really like me and want me to go more in detail into these matches, but honestly that takes a lot of time, especially since you have to get exact details about how it's going to go down into setting it work, but I don't kind of got that time. But the match would end up with a score of around 7-4, Isagi's team winning. And obviously they would get through the second selection and everything else like that, meeting in the middle of the Blue Lock Stadium and seeing everyone else, and eventually going into start their first stage of the second selection with the Blue Lock man. This one's still fairly easy for Isagi, in all honesty, because he is very good at making shots. He knows and understands how to maneuver his body perfectly, and he understands exactly the essence of where he needs to be at all times. So he's able to make shots almost back to back. Eventually, as he starts getting harder, he still does have a little struggle going and making some of those shots, because the shots that he takes are always the most easiest shots and most calculated shots that he can take. So he doesn't really, or at least isn't as good when it comes to being able to take a shot that is more difficult in a more closed off range. But this is actually going to help him quite a bit more, because this is going to be able to really help him start taking shots that he normally wouldn't take. Shots that he would normally give to somebody else because he's not open and he's not confident in the ability to make that shot. He's going to start taking those shots now, causing his decoy abilities to really skyrocket, in all honesty, because now he has the option to choose exactly when he passes or when he doesn't, because he can shoot the ball at any time. It's just his choice now whether he gives somebody else the chance to take the shot or not, which is going to be very funny and very just entirely enticing. But we would actually get into where he eventually gets out. He gets out around the second person right after Rin, and Rin and him end up deciding to work together because Isagi is just interested to see how this guy is. If he was able to get out first, it is going to be extremely well for him. And I say he only got out second because, yes, he struggled, but it wasn't much of a struggle. His shots were already very precise, and he had very direct shots. So as he just had to get like literally like 2-shot gap between figuring out that he can't go easy anymore and just rely on somebody else to take that shot for him. But yeah, they would wait for the next person that they would want to join their team, and they wouldn't go with like Aryu or Tokumitsu, specifically due to the fact that yes, they could easily be very good in their team, but Isagi's skill set requires a specific kind of person to be on his team. It requires a specific kind of person, and I'm not talking about anybody like Kira or any person like that. I'm talking about somebody that he really enjoyed playing against. I'm talking about Nagi. As soon as he would come in, he would see Nagi and Rayo come in close to around the same time. Like literally Rayo comes in first and then Nagi comes in right afterwards. And I'm only saying that just so Rayo sees Nagi there and notices that Nagi shows up right after him. So don't worry about that. Just no. That's exactly just how I'm doing it. So we have it be where Nagi comes in and he sees Rayo, but then he sees Isagi too already in there. Before even going to Rayo, he goes straight to Isagi and asks if he could be on his team. And Isagi says, yeah, sure, I was hoping that you would come to ask me. And Rayo's confused. He literally goes straight up to Nagi and just like, what are you doing? As Nagi saying, I wanted to play with him. And it looks like he already has a third person. So I guess I'll see you later. As Rayo's pissed. Obviously, Rayo's pissed off. But really, what can he do? They would go off and eventually they would wait for other people to start coming around and setting up teams with each other. Eventually, the first team that they would end up going against would be Bachira, Rayo, and Kunigami. This would be the first team that they go against, and it would be a very interesting match because it would be something where they're trying to at least figure out how to work together. But like they obviously know how to work together, but they usually have been dealing with having Isagi as be a catalyst for all of them working together. So without him, it kind of makes everything a little more difficult, just slightly. But they're still able to get a few shots in during their match against each other. And it doesn't really do too much, but with them, like with Isagi being able to use Rin as a decoy, like at least use himself and Rin as a decoy, he's very having much fun because that's exactly kind of how he evolved during the Blue Lock Man process. He's now able to basically use himself or the other person as a decoy because he can shoot the shot whenever he feels like. So he can pretend that he's going to shoot, like he could pass it to Bachira and like have Bachira fake the pass to somebody else if he was working with Bachira. But yeah, so the match ends. It's Isagi being able to very much dominate against everybody on their opposing team, and as soon as the match ends, they choose Bachira. There's no other person to choose besides Bachira, which makes Rail so much more mad because even Nagi knows Bachira would be the best person to mesh with their team because he's able to actively pass between them, and he's going to be like the coordinator between them all, which really helps them out quite a bit. Now, obviously, they're going to have to wait a little while for the next person to be able to make it to the 4-man selection and 4-man team-ups, because obviously it's going to take a little while for them to actually be able to get there. That's something that's more of a quickly, not quickly scenario for them. So they're just doing a lot of practice and getting their teamwork together, and Rin and Isagi are actually becoming friends this time around. Because Isagi's playstyle a little differently and his personality's not the exact same. So they're actually getting along just a slight bit. Not really much, but they're just getting along just a little more than they did. Eventually a 4-man team would show up. This being Chigiri, Kira, Boro, and Noraya. As they would all be on the same team. And yes, it seems like a very kind of extremely good team, yes, but Borrow's still Borrow up until this point. And not having, at least being able to play with Isagi, he doesn't able to create that chemical reaction like he was able to create with Isagi. But either way, we have it to be where he is really just trying to, like, they're obviously all trying to win and everything else like that, but the main funniest part is Kira's like was really hoping that Isagi would come with him, like actively wait for him, because Kira's been really utilizing Isagi for the most part. The only reason that he's been able to survive this long so far was due to the fact of him really having like not the ego, but Isagi being there to kind of help him and utilize him in any situation, in any scenario that he needed to be utilized in. So this match goes quite a bit differently. Kira is able to do some good things, yes, but Borrow's still creating all the chaos and ruckus entirely throughout the entire field, so it's not really being any kind of help whatsoever. He's doing what he needs to do, and he's just getting everything settled down. He's getting everything ready, and he's just really having some fun, honestly. It's just going out, going down, and the match is going pretty decently, to say the least. Kira isn't able to do too much because Chigiri has his weapons and Nurahaya is doing more than Chigiri. But Borrow's being the person that does the most. He's at least the most capable person because he's really pissed off just going against Isagi because how Isagi was able to beat him in the first match and everything else like that, and Borrow wasn't having it. He was not having any of that. So he was just getting extremely pissed off, to say the least. Eventually, once the match ends and Isagi's team decimates and wins, they have the option to choose, and Kira's like, Isagi looks at Kira and then just looks away. Kira's confused because like he thought Isagi and him were actually like pretty close friends, because like obviously they were pretty close, but that was just because Isagi knew that Kira, Kunigami, and Shigiri were the best three players for him to be working with. So he created a fairly decent chemical reaction and chemical bond with them. He didn't really need to have anything else like that. So Kira out. They would choose Bor because he has the best abilities, and Isagi can already create an ideal play style to work with him because he's already thought of one. But yeah, eventually they would figure out that they're going to have to go against the World 5 though. This match would go quite a bit differently. They're not gonna be able to win. I'm just gonna say that straight up right now. They're not gonna be able to win, but they're able to do a lot more. With the team that they have is honestly very decent to be able to play with. It's very capable. It's a very capable team, to say the least, and it's just going to be able to help them out very much. But the main big problem there, like obviously the match starts off in like the same way with the World 5 really downplaying the entirety of the like Blue Lock team. But as soon as the match starts, Julian Loki's like seeing Isagi have the ball, and he's like trying to find any openings, but there isn't any. Isagi has no openings, no blind spots. He's that good. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he understands the actual premise of exactly how he needs to move, how he needs to operate. He is just that good. But obviously, Julian Loki's just a little bit better. Isagi's able to pass to Batra, which in turn is able to pass to somebody else. It doesn't even matter who. But eventually they know that they can't get it, so they end up passing back to Batra because one of the World 5 goes straight to them, and he ends up passing to Rin, which is able to make the first shot. Rin's able to make that first shot just barely and is able to do something. But as soon as the World 5 gets the ball into their court and their side of the field, yeah, it's over for them. They're able to make shots after shots after shots, and Isagi's able to make a singular shot by himself, just using somebody else as a decoy to pretend that he was going to use them as the person to make the shot. But it caused him to make the shot, so it ended up being a score of 2-5. But that was all that they were able to get. Isagi did pretty decently well, and the World 5 noticed that he was extremely good and extremely talented player because the way that he was moving was as one of a person that could be playing and at least playing professional stalker. So the English knew that he had some talent on him, and they were fairly glad about that. But this is where I'm going to be leaving the part off. If you guys did enjoy this, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I know that you guys do want us to start going into the manga and everything else like that, but that would take quite a lot of time. Just getting through the entire U20 the U20 match alone. With that, you would have to put detail in because there's a lot of nuances to that, and that would take an entire part on its own. And then you couldn't really get through every single thing that happens like right after this. And like you can get through basically the third section, the U20, and everything within less than 6 parts, if I'm being honest, maybe 7. And we don't have that kind of time because that would really take us to be doing parts like it's almost like 2 months just to finish parts if we were doing that much. Like if we, because like literally 4 parts for us is usually in 2 weeks. So doing 8 parts in any kind of series, that would take about a month per series, and that would really be extremely annoying, especially since sometimes we're not able to get those 2 vids each from out of us. So it would be complicated to say the least. But so at least I hope that you understand why we can't be doing that one, why we usually just stick to the anime at most. But hope that y'all did enjoy this. And if you guys are wondering exactly who would have been taken out, if I do end up continuing the series later on, the person that would be taken out would have been Kira, and he would have been the person that entered their wild card. But that's a story for another day if we ever consider this. Peace.